everyone, it's Jean from Lizzie Jean's Artistic Chaos. So I wanted to share with you today some of the ATCs that I've been making, and I've changed it to just 100 ATCs instead of one a day because, you know, life gets in the way for me health-wise, so I can't always come into the studio and do an ATC. But these are some of the ones that I've done already, and I love designing the backgrounds either with gel prints or with corrugated cardboard or a masterboard that I may have made. If you saw my video on melting the oil pastels, that was something that I did also. And I've used a lot of different things. You'll see beads. This is an earring. You'll see floral embellishments. This is some vintage tatting. So there's all kinds of things on here. These are my drawings, the ones that are in that are here. This is a stamp by pmartiststudio.com where you can get some really cool stamps and stencils. But today I'm going to show you a technique that I learned from Louisa Hensel, and what she does is she actually embosses over texture paste or modeling paste. So I'm using a Liquitex modeling paste, and I have always had success with Liquitex brand. So I'm just going to get some on my palette knife, and I have an ATC underneath this particular stencil. I just like the swirly designs, and I think it'll make an interesting background. So I'm just going to go through, and as you can see, I have way too much paste. So let me put a little of this back. So I'm going to just scrape over it so that I get a nice design. If it's not 100% in the crevices, you can take a baby wipe and wipe off any parts that you want if you do it right away. But I think we will have, make sure I don't necessarily want the whole thing covered, but we'll see what happens here. I'm leaving some of the side uncovered. This texture paste tends to get a little bit dry, so I need to make sure I keep it sealed. Okay, so let's lift up the stencil, and I'm just going to flop it over here for now. But what we get is this very interesting design on the back. Now I taped this to the paper I was using because I didn't want it to move. So let me move this paper. And then we have this design. Now I am going to go around the edge and just take off these little straggly pieces, if you can see them. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some silver, just for fun, some silver embossing powder, and I'm going to cover the stenciled area. Now you want to make sure you have a clean piece of paper underneath so that you can pour the rest of your embossing powder back in. So you just want to make sure you have it covered with embossing powder, which we do. And then I'm going to pick up the rest of this and put it in the jar. Now when you use embossing powder, it feels like you have sand everywhere, so it's kind of a weird feeling texture onto your hands. So now I'm going to take my heat gun, and I'm sorry, this is going to make a little bit of noise, but if you just take a look at the way this embosses, it's quite cool. So So there we go. We have an embossed background, and this is on top of a magazine image. Now, you can heat this to however you feel looks good to you. If you look right here at this one, it did get a little bit bumpy, so it probably got too warm. And this one, it's a little puffy, but I like the effects that it gives when it does have different textures within the background. So that's one cool way to make a background for your ATC, is to create some textural interest by adding some texture paste or modeling paste along with some embossing powder. Now, I have some other backgrounds that I've made. This one in particular, and this one is done with, this flower is probably from K & Company a very long time ago. I've had it in my stash forever and a day. So I just put this on the back of the blue background, and then I stamped through with a stencil. So that's another way for a cool background. So I'm using, whenever I make my ATCs, I'm using these blanks that I got. I'm pretty sure I got it from a very popular online store, and that store sells them as card blanks, I believe, because the online sells them as card blanks because I couldn't find actual ATC blanks. But if you get these, you get a whole box for a reasonable price. So, and over here I have just a whole bunch of things. I have tea bags, I have corrugated cardboard, I have stamps, I have Tim Holtz labels, I have flowers that I've made, some pieces of fabric. So we have a lot of things that we can use, old buttons, to make our ATCs. So I want to take this ATC, and I actually want to cover it with a gel print, and I love that green one, but I need to get away from green because I did green all day yesterday. We can do yellow and green. So this is actually a Monstera. You can't tell too much because I'm still practicing with the Monstera to see if I can get it to work the way that I want it to. But that is another mask or stencil that comes from pmartiststudio.com that you can check out. I'll leave their link below. And I'm just going to basically flip this over, and I'm going to use, I was going to use a glue stick. Now, where did my glue stick go? That's not right for my glue stick to disappear. Okay. Let me see if I have another glue stick here. I think I do. All right. Oh, sorry. Okay, here's my glue stick. I just found this piece of corrugated cardboard and I like it, so I'm gonna put it in my pile over there. Okay, so you just generously glue that down and then you cut it out. And I just cut it out straight, and then I will go in and use my corner rounder to round the corners. So here is this, I like this yellow. It's very cheerful. We need that because it keeps trying to rain around here. Let me see, I don't think I have that trimmed all the way. So let me go in and corner around this so it matches the corners on the actual card. Maybe. I got this too long over here too. It's what happens when you get old, folks, and you cannot see. And there we go. So there we have our card blank, or our ATC blank. And I just tore a piece of a doily. I'm going to start layering some things. So this is also a piece of a doily that's pretty rough shape. So we'll use the white. I think the white looks good on that. And then, I don't want my hair in there. And then I think what I will do is maybe add, this is a piece of a tea bag. So let's get these glued down. And I'm just going to use glue stick. I find that, you know, if you have a pretty decent glue stick, this is one I get from Walmart and I love it. It's their Pen and Gear brand. And with the kids soon going back to school, it's going to be, they're going to have the larger sizes and it's going to be on sale. So I'm hoping to get some when the kids go back to school, because right now I only have the little skinny ones. So let's put this on top. And we'll scrunch it a little bit. Scrunchy, scrunchy. And then we'll add this piece of frayed fabric on it as well. We're going to leave those strings straggling. And I'm going to use a distress ink called Brushed Corduroy. It's a nice brown, and I like it because I can grunge this up a little bit to kind of match what I'm doing on the background itself. So here we go. Now, one thing I'm noticing is that these are all pretty much looking like they're going to be the same size. So I'm going to see what I can find. Let me see what person I'm going to put on here. I had a guy over here I wanted to use. Let me see who he is. Oh, he is handsome. I want to use him. And I think I need something with more color, maybe. So let me see if I can find something, a label, maybe something in a different color. It's not really in a different color, is it? Maybe we need to put something larger on there, like this tag. This tag would look cute. Let's see how we like it. How do we like it? We like it under here. Because it covers up our tea bag. We want our tea bag on there. We could have it hanging off at an angle, and then we could have him on here. Tags sort of hang at an angle, right? And I feel like we need something else over top of that edge of the tea bag. What's this brown here? I don't know what it says. Okay, no. All right, so in this case, if we can't find something that we like that's in the color, in a color family that we want to use, let me see if I add, here's a little scrap of a gel print. I wonder if I add that orange right here in the middle, and it has a little tiny piece of sheet music on it. And if I add that right here, if it will, that looks kind of cool. And I think I have a vintage button I could add right here. So let's do this. I'm going to, there's enough glue on there to add that. I'm going to keep the tag, but I'm going to use my, I wanted to use my stapler, but I cannot see where I relocated. Oh, here it is. What's wrong with you, Jean? Okay, so here we have that. And when I'm adding a button, I kind of like to put a hole where the button's gonna go with my awl, so that I can just sink it right down in there, because this has a shank on it. So oh my, my neighbors are noisy going down the road. I'm going to use my art glitter glue if it will come out. I'm convinced with art glitter glue they need to send you like 3 or 4 of those pins, because I lose mine day one, and I'm not buying a separate set. So there we go. That looks really cool. And then we will add this gentleman right on top of here. And I'm going to use some heavy-duty glue for him because of the background being a little bit elevated. And we will put him right here. And we will find a sentiment for him. I have some over here. Let me put my makeshift pin back. And we will put, these are just words, so give me a moment. Treasure sounds like a good word to use. Treasure. Each day. I think that's appropriate. Treasure each day. Let's see if I can get these on here so that they do not move. Treasure each day. And then I just need to make sure they're not crooked, because I am a stickler about crooked. Treasure each day. Okay. Love it. So there's a way for you to design an ATC. You don't have to use, if you don't have Tim Holtz images, you don't have to use those. You can use images that you cut out of a magazine. You can use vintage images, which I often do. I have vintage photos that I have purchased. You can use those. So there's all kinds of things that you can find to create your ATCs. And I encourage you to look in different places besides just your packets that you can buy at the store. So I hope you enjoyed this little video and how I make my ATC. And this is day 20. And I have 2 that are ready for the following day. If you just want to make ATCs along with me and you don't want to commit to 100 or daily, you know, I totally understand. I just would love to see some of your ATCs. And once I get to 100, I will be picking some out to share in a giveaway. I also will be going live on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So if you are interested in hanging out with my friend Lygia and I and do some jelly printing or maybe some stamping, printing, stamping, painting, it's hard to tell what we'll get into, but come on by and we would love to see you. And that will be all for today, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.